Are you an idiot? Well, you're in good company. There are about 8 billion idiots on this planet, and that number grows every day. Don't be the guy or gal that says, "I'm not an idiot," because that makes you the biggest idiot of all. We all have our moments of brilliance and our moments of idiocy. Embrace it, folks. Don't be ashamed. Without those idiot moments, we would never be able to appreciate our brilliance. Welcome to I Love My Idiot, a podcast about the idiots we love, the idiots we loathe, and the idiots we can't seem to avoid. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com.
Previously on I Love My Idiot. My mom kicked my dad out of the studio. Then Aunt Claudia stepped up to the mic.
He melted my heart when he was born. It was so cute.
You're right, I was adorable.
Well, he is my brother. I'm trying to have his back.
Aw, thanks, sis.
And then she spewed pure venom for half an hour.
He's the biggest idiot.
Wait, what?
Basically, anything he said was a lie.
Are you talking about me or your other brother?
Clyde ruined Christmas Eve.
Is this about the soup thing again? The soup buffet was pure genius.
He was cute at one time. I don't know what we call this now, but
I thought you were trying to have my back. Whatever happened to that?
And that and the male pattern baldness.
Yes,
which I have noticed that I think he is fighting really hard and he just needs to give in. Shave your head already.
All right, I just got done listening to last week's episode, and I wanted to record my genuine response while it was fresh, which is going to be hard to do because, quite frankly, I'm speechless. Really, the only words that come to mind are, holy hell. Well done, Claudia. Well done. You killed it. You really roasted me. You may be my elder, 11 years older to be specific, but you are not beyond reproach. You roasted me good, but that's not the worst time. You burned me. Let me share. I will have you know that my sister, while very lovable, once created the foulest stench I've ever had the displeasure of coming into contact with. And I served in Iraq. I've driven through sewage, literally, but nothing compares to that dreadful evening back in 1996. We were driving down the interstate. We were sitting silently, enjoying a Def Leppard cassette when she decided to drop a silent fart. The aroma spread through the car like the creeping death searching for the firstborn of Egypt. It was so sharp and harsh, it cut like a knife. I lost the ability to breathe, as if I was in the deep end of a pool plummeting to the bottom. As far as I know, there is no written record of violent farts kept in the history books, but if there was, this would have topped it. If there was a Richter scale for passing gas, they would have renamed it the Claudia scale. You are lucky mom and dad weren't there to smell it. They would no longer claim you as their own. Look, I'm going to calm down for a second. Not everyone is going to understand this, but ripping on each other is how the Novembers express their affection toward one another. So Claudia, I appreciate the kind words. I'm lucky to have such a good big sister, and I'm going to say something that will make you feel way worse than revealing your deep dark secret about that toxic thing that came out of your ass 23 years ago. Here it goes. I love you. Yeah, that felt gross. Seriously, Claudia, thanks for coming to the show. It was hilarious. Well done.
Well, I hope you feel better now that you got that off your chest, Clyde.
I feel so much better. That felt so good.
I bet it did. I mean, you got real passionate there. It scared me a little bit.
Yeah, but that's sibling rivalry in the November family. Like, honestly, bring it on, Claudia.
Yeah.
I will combat you all day long, every day, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
And I find it as fun. And you know what? I guarantee she does as well.
All right. Well, I'd like to transition into our topic of the day.
How Rosie met Clyde.
Dude, we're such dorks.
Dude, that was the cutest couple type thing. You know when couples do really annoying things and think they're cute?
Oh my gosh, yeah. We are definitely those idiots.
Totally.
This is a story. It can be a little serious, but also funny.
This is the kind of story that will make you scratch your head at moments.
Yes.
Make you shake your head, but hopefully bring you some laughter as well.
So let's go back 14 years ago. I am just breaking up with a 6-year relationship. I found myself in the weirdest situation in life. I was living with my dad, who had just returned from Nashville, depressed from not becoming famous. So
he went there with dreams of becoming this famous country music star.
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't seen him in 6 years. All of a sudden, he's back in my hometown, desolate, sad.
What a perfect roommate. It sounds like almost every roommate I've actually had, so it makes sense. Was it even a house?
No, it was an apartment, but it was kind of a cool experience because it had been the first time that I had seen him in a long time. My dad has a buddy come through town. His friend says, my son is about your age. You should contact him. And he gave me his phone number. Now, I called his son, and instantly he charmed the pants off me. He's a very, very charming person. His name's Phil. I instantly am like, whoa, this guy is really cool. I think maybe this might be a thing. And we start talking online. We sort of form this long distance relationship, and I commit. I stop dating. I really focus all of my energy on Phil.
So here you are feeling like you are committed to Phil.
Yes.
Yet you had no idea what was going on in Phil's life.
I had never met Phil. I just fell into this cloud, and I'm sure others who are listening have experienced this with online dating. You like fall head over heels for someone you have never met.
Now, the thing that you got to be careful about is because you've never met them, you don't know what's truly going on in their life. So let me back up about
exactly
Phil.
What's going on with Phil.
As I mentioned before, I served in the Army, and one of my platoon mates was Phil. I knew Phil well.
Yeah, you served in Iraq with Phil.
I served in Iraq with Phil. He was a fun guy to be around. He also had a lot of immaturity. So when we were living in a barracks together, a lot of times there were problems that would come up where he wouldn't want to take trash out and stuff like that. Everybody kind of goes through different scuffles in a barracks, so not a big deal. Phil is my friend, and we have this core group of friends in the Army. Phil, he was a charmer. While he was in this committed relationship to you, he was also in a real life committed relationship with a girl that we called the Fridge. Why did we call her the Fridge? Because she looked like a fridge. Very boxy, square chin, square shoulders.
Yeah.
Phil never revealed to us that he had a MySpace girlfriend. Well,
he was living a dual life. He talked to me every day.
Now,
it's the craziest thing.
If this went on for a year, that means the Fridge was the second girlfriend in real life he had, because the first one was this pregnant girl.
Oh my gosh, the pregnant girl.
Yes. And the pregnant girl was about to have her baby when they started dating. And he started telling her, honey, I'm going to raise this child. I'm going to be the father. So she instantly just falls for him because she's thinking, I'm going to be in this alone. And she
even names her kid Phil Jr.
Phil Jr., thinking that they're going to be together. And pretty much the day the child was born, Phil came to her and said, I just can't do it. I just can't be with you.
I feel so bad for her. I feel like of all the women that he screwed over, she
I feel
had the
bad
worst
for
story.
Phil Jr. How would you like to find out? You're named after this douchebag ex-boyfriend that your mom had. So after breaking up with the pregnant girl, he ends up hooking up with the Fridge and dates the Fridge for quite some time. And that's when one day Phil says to us, guys, there's this girl I've been talking to online. And we said, what about the Fridge? And he said, I'm thinking about breaking up with her because this girl I'm talking to online is a 10.
Right. At that time, I really was a 10.
You still are a 10.
Whatever.
You are. You are the hottest person I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh, stop.
So we're at my buddy Red's house, and Phil pulls up his MySpace account and says, let me show you this girl, and pops up this picture of you. And my jaw instantly hits the floor. You were wearing this blue dress.
Right.
Low cut, but not too low cut. No bra. You know, and this was not a butterface situation, because sometimes on MySpace, you'll see good body, ugly face, beautiful face, most put together face, perfectly symmetrical. And I'm sitting here thinking like, Phil, you are the luckiest son of a bitch in the world. No one upgrades from the Fridge to a freaking 10 in one jump. There's supposed to be like a progression. Like you go from the fridge to the mini fridge and then eventually get to that 10. No, the guy goes from like a 4 to a 10 in one jump. Instantly, Phil turns to us and says, "What do you think, guys?" And seriously, we're just all like, like my tongue isn't working. Phil says she's coming to town and we're going to meet for the first time. And we're like, great. You better go dump the fridge. He makes a phone call, comes back in. The fridge is gone. She's history, dude. We're like, all right, cool, whatever.
And at this point that he's talking to you guys, I'd already been on the road for a few days.
Yeah, we find out that he wants to have a barbecue that night because you are within hours of getting into town, which he's lucky that the fridge was not a little more psychotic. Because I've dumped girls that show up on my doorstep and won't leave for like 6 days.
Dude, one of your ex-girlfriends showed up a year later asking for some of her shit from my apartment.
And you know what?
You date the crazies, I just gotta say.
She purposely would always leave some shit behind so she had an excuse to come back. So Phil says, guys, I need backup. He said, I'm super nervous to meet this girl. If everybody's there and we kind of have it as like a platoon barbecue and she comes, it'll take a lot of pressure off. And so we're like, hell yeah, we want to see her in real life. I want to see, is this photoshopped?
Yeah.
Because I don't know. We rush over to Phil's place, set up the barbecue. We buy the meats on the way. And pretty soon there's a knock on the door. A couple of the guys rush to the door because they want to, be the first to see this mystery girl.
That little window on the door, and all I see is like 6 dudes looking at me through this teeny tiny window, like taking turns. And all of a sudden, I felt like a tremendous amount of pressure going into that house.
However, I was not one of those dudes because something you have to know about me is I am super introverted. I actually was sitting in the back room playing some of Phil's video games. Okay, now I wanted to go meet you. I wanted to see this fox, but I was also nervous and I'm kind of hanging back. And I can hear you out there. And I could hear you talking to people and meeting people. And pretty soon I hear you making your way down the hall and you're talking with my friend Red. And my friend Red and you round the corner. And he says, oh, this is my friend November. In the Army, we all went by our last names. So he says, this is my friend November. And
in fact, I called you November for the whole time I knew you before we got married.
Yeah. You came over, you said, hey, November, nice to meet you. And then you kind of sat on the couch. What you playing? And you were being really friendly. And I'm, kind of shy.
Keep in mind, I'm actually very grateful to be spending a minute with just one person. I had been with the pile of dudes cooing and gawing over me, and I was talking to you, like trying to get to know you.
So as we were talking, somehow it came up that I was lactose intolerant.
Right. Because when you talk to Rosie, you just drop all your secrets about your world.
That's right. What I didn't know is that this struck a chord with you because you are also lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
And so you found this commonality that we had. You said to me, oh, you're lactose intolerant? And then I cut you off before you could say, I am too. Often I said a movie line from The Wedding Singer starring Adam Sandler.
Of which I had never seen.
And I said, yeah, my parents died when I was a kid too. You want to talk about that? And there were a couple guys at this point that had trickled into the room. And so when they heard the line, they all recognized it. It was a line we quoted frequently. So everyone was kind of giggling. Anyways, you were feeling super uncomfortable. Like somehow you had brought up this uncomfortable subject.
Right. I didn't even know how I got in this moment, really. And I was the whole time thinking, oh my gosh, I feel so bad. Like, I don't know what I said, but it brought up some sad memories about this dude's parents being dead. And now I feel horrible.
Then they say, hey, dinner's ready. And everyone leaves. We go eat. It was probably about 30 minutes later. You came up to me to apologize.
Right.
It was just eating away at you that you had somehow brought this up. And when you apologized, everyone started laughing. And I said, my parents aren't dead. I said, I told you that as a joke.
And that's when I found out Clyde had a sense of humor. So I'd like to go back just a little bit with when I first saw your whole crew. When I first saw Phil, he had clearly done what we called then the MySpace shot. Only pictures that were very flattering of him. Like, I didn't get the full body shot that I sent all of you guys with him. It's this short guy who's balding and not super attractive.
He's got the smallest head of any human you would ever see.
I'm like, how do you charm the pants off of all these women? Like, I'm sure anyone who's dated online has had this experience where they go out on a date with somebody and they look nothing like their pictures. And that was what I experienced. But then I look over at Clyde and I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's my type. I've always been very attracted to very tall guys.
I'm 6'2".
Blonde hair, blue eyes, like
Check.
drop dead gorgeous guy.
Triple check.
Yeah. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm here for the wrong guy. I was just kind of sad a little bit because Phil wasn't everything in person that I thought he was.
So you instantly had this moment where you were physically attracted to
Yeah.
me.
And then you're being a total jerk to me. And I was like, gosh, why is it that every time you think somebody's super cool and super attractive that they hate you? Like, I felt like I was like kryptonite to attractive men.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not hate you. I mostly just wanted you to like me.
Right.
But went about it in an awkward way.
Sure. So I spend the night with Phil. He wasn't sleeping on the couch, if you know what I mean.
I believe there was a "have you put it in yet" line. Because Phil,
He was a very small person.
he's going to kill me if he ever knows that I revealed this. You had the tiniest schlong. All right, let's move on.
I had been accepted into a college that's 4 states away from you guys. And so I was actually just halfway on my journey to get there.
That's right. You were passing through, and then if everything went well with Phil, the MySpace relationship was going to continue.
Yeah, we were going to continue to online date. And so I left, and I received 2 days after I left the meanest letter I have ever received in my entire life.
Before I reveal what I said, I need to back up. This is what Phil would do. Because he lacked a lot of depth, once he charmed those girls, he was always afraid they were going to see the truth. So what he would do is he would bring these girls to our platoon and try to integrate them within all of us guys.
You had all of these ex-girlfriends that were sort of just lingering because this was his ploy, right?
The problem is, after he would break up with them, they would try to use us to get back to him. And
so dang charming.
Yeah,
Seriously.
and particularly that pregnant girl. Honestly, I liked you. I was thinking she does not deserve what Phil is going to do to her. I did send you a letter. Now, I'll have you know that while my name was on the letter, it was constructed based off of conversations with several people. Several people had told me, well, looks like Phil's doing it again. He's going to bring another girl in, get her attached to all our wives. And only 2 days since you left, and already we were dealing with the repercussions of the fridge. She was coming over, trying to make everyone feel guilty, trying to angle her way back into Phil's life. I decided that I was going to construct this letter and warn you. I sent this letter, and it said, I'm just letting you know that this is Phil's MO. And we're kind of tired of it. You're just not worth getting to know. Now, the wording of that...
What kind of girl likes to hear you're not worth getting to know? Like, that was so mean. I have never been so offended by a human being as I was by you in that moment.
I'm not proud of the wording.
Yeah.
The intent was to save you.
Yeah, and the first thing that I thought of is maybe just all, like, tall, handsome guys are dicks. Like, I was like, it's just my luck that every time I meet like this cool guy who's really attractive, I end up having to be with the Phil of the group, you know, because, and I felt like you were a douchebag in that moment.
Looking back on it, you know, it was a douchey thing to do. And I think I kind of ended it by saying, look, if you're going to be with him, that's on you.
Yeah.
Just leave us out of it. Don't try to become one of us.
Yeah.
And
don't think if you ever move here that you're going to be hanging out with the group. You're not welcome. It was pretty devastating.
So you moved on. You started attending some school, and he successfully talked you into moving in with him, which was extremely awkward for me. And Phil and I lived in the same apartment complex.
Yeah.
I'm like,
of all of his friends,
my
I was
gosh.
going to see you the most.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so awkward. This girl that I wrote this awkward letter to now lives 8 doors down from me. As you came, sure enough, you started becoming one of the platoon.
Yeah.
But I was kind of separate from that because I felt so awkward around you because of this letter that I had written. If I knew you were going to be at an event, I purposely did not go. So months pass, and I kept telling everyone, you know what? Phil is going to reveal himself. This girl, she's not going to stick around. Yeah. But then you did stick around.
And all of his buddies were saying, you got to get to know Rosie. Like, she's so fun. They loved me.
And I kept telling them, she's never going to want to get to know me because I sent this horrible letter. One night, I'm over at Red's house playing video games on his computer when Phil pops in. And who's Phil got with him? You. And I'm instantly thinking, oh, great, here she is. And you walked over and you sat by me on the couch and looked at the computer screen and you said the funniest thing.
Right. I said, what are you writing, another nasty letter to another girl?
And I just looked at you. I was thinking, did you seriously just say that?
Right in front of Phil?
Yeah. And in my mind, I didn't know if Phil knew that I had written the letter.
I don't know if Phil ever knew about the letter either.
He had never confronted me.
I never said anything about it.
Red knew that I had written the letter. So Red is dying. Phil's sitting there trying to understand. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Yeah. I'm instantly sweating under my armpits.
Your face turns bright red.
And then you just said to me, you know what? That wasn't cool. And I told you I didn't know you were going to stick around this long.
But I said it in like a joking way, not a confrontational way. And I also said, you're going to be my friend, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So I apologized to you. Mm-hmm. That was not a reflection of how I really felt. I just didn't think you were going to stick around.
All the meanwhile, Phil's like, what did he say? Like, where's this letter? And I had deleted it. I couldn't pull that letter back even if I wanted to because I got rid of it to protect you.
It's too bad. It would be good to read on the podcast.
It would be really fun to read on the podcast. Maybe you have it in your sent folder somewhere where we could.
Oh, that was like 6 emails ago. I always get rid of different email accounts because like Barnes & Noble starts filling up my inbox and all these different places. Yeah.
So Phil worked nights and I worked days. And so our schedules were never the same. I started making plans to hang with you during the night because Phil wasn't around. And so we went and saw movies and stuff together, and we went for hikes, and we had a lot of fun, and we just sort of became best friends.
Yeah, we started hanging out as friends. Every guy will know what I'm talking about. You know that friend that you feel like I'm always going to be in the friend zone?
Yeah.
But I would give anything for one night alone with this girl.
Yeah.
Every guy knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So every minute that I wanted to hang out, you were the go-to person because you always said yes.
Because I liked hanging out with you. You were a fun person to hang out with.
At that time, I could say that you were my best friend. In fact, when I would call back home and talk to my family or my friends, they'd say, well, how's Phil? And I would say, oh, he's fine. You know, he works a lot. But I would always say, I have this great friend, Clyde, who we hang out all the time and we're having a great time hanging out. And so my family didn't know you in person, but they knew of you. Like you were totally in the friend zone. Absolutely, 100% in the friend zone. I would never even cross that line until that line got crossed.
Oh, really? Never cross the line. Never is a strong word.
Right. So I had been with Phil for about 6 months, and you and I had been in person. I had been living in our city for about 6 months, hanging out with you every single day. I started to form some twinkles of feelings for you. Despite my best effort to keep you in the friend zone, you were sort of creeping into my heart. Like I'd have dreams about you and stuff. It was the craziest thing. And so we were at Boomer's house for a party one night. Everybody's like shit-faced drunk. And I went to use the bathroom in Boomer's room and I saw you sitting there. And I get out of the restroom and I come in. And
you're looking at me. You say hello, and I said hello back, and you came over to sit next to me on the bed. Mm-hmm. Now, I was sitting maybe 8 inches away from the corner of the bed, and you sat right on the corner, but it was like there wasn't enough room for your entire bottom to fit on that corner. And so when you sat right there, I was thinking, oh, I'm being rude. She doesn't have enough room to sit. So I said, here, let me scoot over and give you more room. Actually, I didn't say that. I just scooted over to give you more room. I slide over about 3 feet to right to the center of the bed. And all of a sudden, you slide over 3 feet too to be right next to me.
You have to understand, I was like 3 whiskey sours deep all of a sudden my guard was down.
And I was 100% sober, so I don't have an excuse like that.
And Phil is not at this party. He's working.
Phil was working. So you're sitting there right next to me, staring up at me with these big brown eyes. And I'm looking down at you. And I have this strong feeling that this girl wants me to kiss her. And
Truth.
Am I thinking about my friendship with Phil in this moment? No. Who's Phil?
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to make the move. And all of a sudden, the door flies open. Here comes Boomer in. He sees us in this compromising position. Nothing was happening yet.
Yeah.
The moment ends. And now I'm left to be haunted by this moment for the next few months. Because I'm thinking about this moment. I'm overanalyzing it. I'm trying to interpret it every way possible. One day I'm saying, oh, it meant nothing. She was drunk.
Right.
Another day I'm like, she wants me. It's clear.
Well, I had never crossed that line with you. Like, I really wasn't super flirty with you because we were just really good friends. And you would always get super jealous whenever I would be flirty with the other dudes.
Yeah, that's right. Because you actually were extremely flirty with everyone except for me.
Exactly, because you made me nervous. I really liked you.
Now, you have a very bubbly personality. You come across as very flirty. I was the one person you would not display that bubbliness with.
And everybody said that I had it out for Boomer, which was not true.
Yeah, we all thought that. We all were like, this girl is so flirty with Boomer. But
it's because Boomer would spar with me.
How a whole bunch of Army guys are going to interpret that as is this girl wants Boomer. And I even thought that, you know?
Yeah.
And Boomer has certain qualities that make it so all girls just think he's adorable.
He is adorable.
He is. He's tiny, but not tiny in the way that Phil is tiny. No. He's cute, tiny.
Yeah.
Phil is kind of disappointingly tiny.
Now, all of a sudden, I'm making all of these moves, and you don't know how to interpret them.
Yeah, and it's also making the friendship a little bit awkward because I'm too in my head to just be normal around you.
Yeah, and I don't really know if I even understood what I was doing to you. I just wanted you to know that I cared very deeply about you. I wasn't sure where that was going to go, like if that was going to turn into anything relationship-wise, or if it was just to tell you, like, I really value you and love you and think you're awesome.
So what was going on with you and Phil?
Phil had found a lot of interest in other girls, and I had an indication that he may have been cheating on me.
By the way, there were at least 3 with confirmation.
And I really came to the conclusion that I did not want to be with him anymore, but I didn't know how to leave him because he was in love with me.
And you had tried to leave before.
But Phil was so charming and so convincing and always promised to change or to make himself better. And he always swore he wasn't having sex with other girls, even though I could see text messages and email strains and MySpace posts from these other girls. It was pretty clear what was going on, but he would deny it. And I kept staying with him until I'd had enough.
One day, Phil gets sent on like a 4-day little task. He gets sent out of town. And when he returns, the only thing he finds in your guys' apartment is a note from you.
Right. And all my shit is gone.
Yes. So you up and left. You didn't tell anybody because you didn't want him to know. What did you write on this note?
I basically gave him a list of the things that he could do better for the next girl. I decided that I would pack up all of my things in my Chevy Malibu and drive all the way back to where I'm from. I didn't say goodbye to anybody.
And you were afraid that we would all warn Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And he would convince you to stay.
Yeah, I just couldn't. I mean, I couldn't do that to my self-esteem anymore, to be with somebody that I knew was cheating on me.
Now, Phil returns from his training, calls me up, he takes me to lunch. First thing he starts telling me about is how he spent that entire 4 days having sex with some girl that was in the Army.
Yeah, which you told me later had like a lip tattoo or something like tattooed on her vagina.
And then the lady brings us our food. We start eating. And then he says, oh, by the way, Rosie left. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. I was like, this is information you should have led with. Like, I don't care about the stupid interaction with that army chick.
Yeah.
He tells me about this note you left.
Mm-hmm.
He described it as, these are the things you have to do to make me come back. And he truly believed that.
Why didn't you ever tell me that the dude was cheating on me? You had actual fact. I was trying to put the pieces together that whole time.
Guy code. I couldn't tell you. And the thing is I actually was pining for your affection.
Uh-huh.
If I was going to win you over, it wasn't going to be by some technicality of me saying, hey, your boyfriend's cheating on you. I want you to feel hurt and fall in my arms on the rebound.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I wanted to win you fair and square, but mostly guy code. So Phil and I finish up our lunch. And then we go our separate ways. And I instantly run to the computer and shoot you a MySpace message. MySpace was probably a few months from fading out at this point. So maybe it was a Facebook message. I don't remember. And basically all I said was, good for you for leaving. I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also a little hurt that you left without saying goodbye because I really consider you a good friend. When I sent this message, I didn't know if you would respond.
Mm-hmm.
But you did respond.
I did. I responded and I said, me leaving has nothing to do with you or our friendship. I just couldn't do it with Phil anymore. And oh, by the way, did you know he's been cheating on me?
What? What, him? He seems like such a good guy.
And so we start chatting. I mean, we start chatting almost daily. Really started to sort of build our relationship even further.
Yeah, but you said something to me. It was about the third message you sent to me. You said that you felt so guilty for leaving without saying goodbye to me that you were trying to figure out how to come back into town to say a proper goodbye to me without Phil or any of the army guys knowing.
Yeah.
And it was the moment that I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I haven't just been overreading things. And one day I was hanging out with Phil. He tells me she's moving back in and he's trying to now do all this cleanup work to make it appear like he has been spending the last month trying to turn his life around. And he says to me, November, I need a favor. And I said, sure, anything. He said, one of the things on that list was that when I go to work, she feels lonely. So he said, I need you to come over to my house and hang out with Rosie while I'm at work.
Yeah.
And I thought, sure, I would love to. And what made it even better, because I was planning on doing that anyways, what made it better was that he invited me.
You had the permission of Phil.
Because I'm doing Phil a favor.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So you start coming over every single day. I was like cooking you dinner every night. And as Claudia said in her previous episode, you were just disappearing for long periods of time.
I would watch the clock. I knew what time he would be returning. And when it was coming up to his lunch hour and he would come home, I would leave.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, hey, I know he's going to be home soon. I'm going to take off. And then I would return about an hour later after he went back to work.
We would hang out until 4 a.m. when he was going to come. I was not getting any sleep at that time because I was spending all of my time with you that I could.
It was great. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you told me that you were putting in an application for your own apartment.
Right.
You had made it clear that you were noticing signs that he had not actually changed.
Mm-hmm.
All of the promises he made, all the things on that list that he had turned around, there were clear indications that that was all bullshit.
Exactly. It doesn't get more clear than the tattoo girl texting you personally saying, Phil got me pregnant. So yeah, I put in an application for an apartment and I got it right away. As soon as I moved out, he became psychotic.
He did not want you to leave.
No.
I was angling my way into your life and into your heart, right?
Yes, yeah.
You were finally...
There was a bit of an overlap.
There was.
Of about probably, I don't know, 2 weeks or so.
I would say it was a week before you moved out was when we actually had our first kiss.
And I'm not proud of it, but there is 1 week
I'm proud of it.
I canoodled both you and Phil.
I'm very proud of it.
Like on a Monday, I was with Phil, and on a Wednesday, I was doing it with you. I'm just saying, it was a weird time. It was a weird time.
Yeah. Well, I had taken you on a hike, and this was a hike we had done before. This was our first kiss. I took you up to this location where it overlooks the city. The sun was setting, and I was thinking this is going to be the perfect time to just plant my first kiss on you.
Yeah.
Right?
Which I was like having this internal struggle at that time too of I loved you so much as a friend, and I was really nervous that if we got into it, like into a relationship, that friendship would dissipate. And I needed your friendship so much in my life because you were my very, very best friend. I know you had all these platoon friends and army friends and had lots of best friends outside of me. But for me, it was you and Phil, like were my really closest friends. And so it was tough. It was a tough struggle for me at that time. I wasn't sure if I ever wanted you to make a move.
But I made it.
You made the move.
We were up looking at the city, watching the sunset, except all these people came up and started smoking pot right next to us. And I'm thinking, oh, this stinks. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to get my first kiss in with the smell, that skunky smell of pot all around us? And this was a place where sometimes...
And I was like, hey, like...
like, hey, you got a little extra? It was not legal in Colorado at that point, and I was in the Army. I couldn't partake.
And we're really not those people.
Yes, we don't do drugs. Now my drug of choice is Benadryl.
And mine are sleeping pills.
So to get away from the smell, I tell Rosie, hey, we should start heading down the mountain. So we start returning to the trail, and just as we're far enough away, I just decide this was going to be my night. Yeah. And it's now or never. Mm-hmm. So I reach out, I grab your hand, and I stop walking. But you kept walking, you took my hand, and you...
Yeah, I thought you were just helping me to not trip over that rock or something.
I wasn't. I was about to make my move. Yeah. Once your arm stretched out...
What happened to Guy Code?
Hey. How dare you throw that in my face right now? At a certain point, Guy Code goes out the window. So I pull you back to me, wrap my arms around you, and I look down at you.
I was like, oh shit, Clyde's going to kiss me right now.
And I planted one on you. And we stood there and kissed. Next thing I know, the sun is down, which means...
It was the best kiss I've ever had, by the way.
We had been kissing for quite some time. We missed the sunset.
Yeah, we just sort of made out there on that hill.
And that is not the trail you want to be walking down
no.
in the dark.
I'm pretty sure the pot guys at the top were not only smoking it, but dealing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then we make our way down the trail real quick, and we return to our regular lives and have to pretend like nothing happened.
You made that the case. Like, you told me this can never happen because of Guy Code and because of the Army.
And you said you totally agreed. But then the next day when I came over to hang out with you...
It was a Wednesday, and we did it. Now it's getting real, right? Now we're in a real situation. We're not exactly proud of what we're doing because we know it's sort of cheaterish. Even though Phil had been cheating on me for a year, I still felt an immense amount of guilt because I'm a very loyal, faithful person. I'd never been a cheater before. And here I am in this, like... head over heels with Clyde and sort of still have Phil who thinks I'm with him too. It was awkward. It was uncomfortable. But as soon as we did that, I ended it with Phil.
And I started thinking about how are we going to go public with this? Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. In the Army, you do not break Guy Code.
Right.
And definitely sleeping with one of your platoon mates' girls is Guy Code. And I suddenly had this realization that I hadn't really thought through real clearly. Mm-hmm. How are we going to make this work? Yeah. Everyone I know is going to crucify me for taking Phil's girl.
Yeah. And there were times where you would call me and you would say, I don't know if we should do this.
That's
like,
right.
You had severe doubts. And I was sort of on the other end going, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's even questioning if we should do this. Like, the chemistry is so real.
That's right. And so at one point I told you we need to call this off.
And I cried. Oh my God, I cried.
I cried as well because it didn't feel right. I felt like this is the thing I have to do so society can accept me. It felt like I was letting the person I love walk away. And to blow off steam, I went and found my friend Andrew and I told him everything.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. The secret love I'd been feeling for you, I had not told a soul. Andrew wasn't in the army. He wasn't connected to all these people. I'd known him since we were 12 years old or so.
Yeah.
But I told him, confiding in him, because since he wasn't in the army, I felt like this is the one person I can tell. And Andrew pretty much slapped me in the face and said, that girl sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And you're going to throw that away because of the way people might look at you. He said, you tell them that everything in life is a competition and you freaking won because you got the 10. And that guy was a douche that couldn't keep the 10. And he kind of, it kind of shook me a little. And I thought, you know what? He's right. So I came back to your apartment and I said, let's do this. However, I did have a plan. My plan was don't tell anyone for a while.
I was your secret mistress.
Yeah. I was like, let's let Phil slowly accept it. And then we will eventually reveal that, hey, we're kind of dating. However, as I was sleeping at your house that night,
yes,
who shows up at the door?
Phil.
When he showed up that night, he saw my car in the parking lot and he was pissed because this was about 2 a.m, which I'm pretty sure both you and I were sound asleep. And we woke up to the sound of him pounding on the door, screaming, November, I know you're in there.
He had jiggled the door loose, so the door actually flew open. But
it was the chain.
Thank goodness the chain was there. But he could see like 3 inches in. And so I'm talking to Phil through the door, and he's saying, I have to be with you. I have to be with you, and like is crying. And my neighbors are starting to open their doors to look and see what's going on because he's screaming at the top of his lungs. And then he starts yelling at you through this 4 inches of door and saying, get the fuck out of Rosie's house. Like, what are you doing here at 2 a.m.? Are you guys together? And all of this stuff. And like starts yelling about guy code. And it was a crazy night. It was the most crazy thing that I've ever experienced.
Yeah. So somehow you talked him down. You told him, you are scaring the hell out of me.
Yeah. And I'm crying because I'm so scared.
So he instantly calls everyone we know and starts telling them, I'm pretty sure November's sleeping with my girl, which, of course, you weren't his girl at that point.
No.
You had already called it off,
Yeah.
but he was convinced this is my girl.
Right.
The next morning I wake up, I've got several text messages from people asking me if it's true.
And your nightmare is coming true.
Exactly. I'm thinking, oh, great. I'm about to be ostracized from my platoon. Like, people get the shit kicked out of them for stuff like this, right? I instantly am texting back, no, it's not true.
Denying it, liar.
Phil was drunk. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, I was at Rosie's house, but we were just chilling.
Yes. But then I called Boomer. Boomer, who I've always considered one of my best friends. Him and I have known each other since the 7th grade.
You joined the army together.
That's right. We enlisted together. We went to basic together. We were bunkmates. I called Boomer and I told him the truth because I figured I'm going to need at least someone on my side. And I know Boomer will have my back. So I told Boomer the truth. And you want to know what Boomer said?
What did he say?
He said, I have never been prouder of you, dude. You're banging a 10. Way to go.
Yeah, that's Boomer.
And then I said, well, aren't you a little upset about Phil? I broke guy code. And he said, no, fuck that guy. That guy's a drunk. He's an idiot too. And the thing is slowly I then had to start revealing the truth to people that you and I were together. You and I were in love. I was surprised how many people actually came out and supported me.
Yeah.
There were 1 or 2 guys that were upset and said, oh, you broke guy code.
Sure.
But I had several guys that came out and said, you know what? I'm glad because I think that you'll actually be good to her.
And they all knew that Phil was cheating on me.
So no one was going to shed a lot of tears for him. Right. And a lot of my anxieties about people being really upset with me just never came true. And here's the thing about Phil. I knew Phil for a period of time in his life when he was at that young, dumb stage that a lot of men go through. At the time, I held that against him. I don't anymore. I hope that Phil has found things in his life that make him happy. We have no more contact with him. I still wish the best for him.
Yeah. And, it's been 12 years since I saw Phil last. If I could see him today, the first thing I would say to Phil would be thank you. Because the choices that Phil made and the fact that we were together is what led me to you. The true love of my life, the person that I want to spend every day with for the rest of my life, that I want to grow old with.
This is not the story that we actually tell people.
The story that we tell everybody is that we met in college.
Yeah. And we give no details.
It's really convenient because it's a part truth, because we did take a class together.
We did. So it's not 100% a lie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that we're like, they can't handle the true story.
And they're all going to hear it now.
They are. In fact, if your last name is November.
This is the first time you're hearing this story.
So there you have it, folks. The true story. And please don't judge us too hard.
That's right. We're still Clyde and Rosie, everybody.
We're still those two lovable idiots.
You love us, and we love you. Speaking of people who love us, I have a non-amendment from last week's interview with Claudia. She jumped the gun and mentioned that we were pregnant before we were engaged. Now, that's 100% true.
However, she really stepped on our toes because we were not ready to reveal that just yet to the audience. So thank you, Claudia, for jumping in there.
We were pregnant when we got engaged. That is a true story. Here's the deal. Clyde assured me when we got together that he couldn't get a girl pregnant.
That's right. So I would like to blame Dr. Vance for the fact that we got pregnant, because Dr. Vance, you're a freaking a-hole. This is your fault.
This is another reason why I don't like Dr. Vance.
Exactly. And my family has been going to Dr. Vance for years. And ever since I've been married, Rosie's like, the guy's incompetent.
He's totally incompetent.
It's his fault we got pregnant.
I've been married into this family for 13 years, and I still refuse to make Dr. Vance my doctor because I think the guy is totally incompetent. And this is Exhibit A. He tells you, because of a condition you had when you were a kid that got fixed and everything, that you were not going to be able to have babies.
And not necessarily that I was unable. He just said that my sperm production was going to be so low that it was going to be highly unlikely that I would ever reproduce. It actually devastated me because when I was little, I wanted to be a father.
Yeah.
What was your response to that?
Yeah, I took that to be gospel truth. And so I said, all right, well, go get checked out. Once we know we're all clear, ready to go, we don't need to use any protection because we can't get pregnant.
So Rosie was always a big fan of safe sex.
Yeah.
She had never had sex without the use of a condom before. For some reason, when I told her I could not get a girl pregnant, she took those condoms and just threw them away.
Happily, ladies, happily.
Oh, and I was doing cartwheels. I was shooting off fireworks.
Next thing we know, we find out we're pregnant.
That's right. You had been sick for a while, so I went and bought some pregnancy tests. When I came home with those, you said, "What are these for?" And I said, "I think you're pregnant."
At the time, we were really poor, so you bought these pregnancy tests
Dollar
from the
store.
dollar store.
That's right.
That's also where I used to get my condoms, so it's pretty lucky that I never got pregnant before.
You were going to get pregnant one way or another. Let's face it.
So he brings home these pregnancy tests. 2 say yes, 1 says maybe, and we jump in the car and head to Planned Parenthood to confirm this thing.
And on the way, we start discussing our plan of how we're going to reveal this to everyone. We say, if you are indeed pregnant, we can't tell anyone because there's some steps that we have not taken. Number 1, I have not met your dad. You do not want to impregnate a girl if you have not met her father yet.
That's exactly right. Number 2, your family is ultra conservative, ultra religious. Premarital sex is frowned upon.
Frowned upon? No, you go straight to hell for that kind of thing.
So we were discussing the fact that if we were pregnant, we weren't going to tell anybody for a while. We were going to craft up a way of telling this to our families. Inside the Planned Parenthood, who do we see?
Andrew's sister.
Yes.
Someone who I grew up with, who lives 2 blocks away from mom and dad and goes to church with them. Her whole family goes to church with them.
Very interconnected into the November family.
Exactly. And she was awfully excited to see us there. I don't know if she knew our situation.
For all she knew, we could have been married.
Andrew's sister takes us back to the examination room and indeed confirms that we are pregnant. So the first thing that's going through my head is she is going to tell somebody I go to church with. And this is going to go through the gossip channels at church, and my parents are going to find out before we're ready to release our perfectly crafted statement of our pregnancy. So the first person we had to contact was my mom, because if word were to get out in the church community, she would be the first one to hear about it. Also, you should know that I am terrified of my mother. I hear stories about people whose mothers told them, when your father gets home, you're going to be in trouble. We never had that. My mom would just kick your ass right then and there.
Oh my gosh.
Even now, if I step out of line, she'll give you a good whack, you know?
She's even whacked me before on the back of the head. We love her, but she's not afraid to show you how she feels a little physically.
Yeah, and I never had a fear of my dad. Like, my dad would logic you to death with a super weird, awkward conversation that makes you wish you were getting your ass kicked by mom, but never a physical fear. So I give mom a call, and she is super excited to hear from me. Hello, Clyde. Thank you so much for calling.
This is a woman who does not often show excitement.
Exactly. So I tell her, Mom, I have some news for you. Rosie is pregnant. And there is this long, awkward pause that lasts about 2 minutes. Finally, she says, well, I hope you're going to marry her. Is there anything else you need to say to me? And I said, no, Mom, that is all. And she said, okay. And she hangs up on me without even saying goodbye. So the second person I call is my most dear sibling. Claudia is really excited about the news. She's excited about the baby. And then she says to me, have you called Mom and Dad yet? And I tell her about the nightmarish conversation I just had with my mother. And she says, well, tell me you at least remembered to wish her happy birthday.
We are sorry, Mom, giving you the worst news on your birthday.
At that moment, I realized Claude is her new favorite. I have always been the favorite because I'm the baby of the family and I'm a mama's boy.
Keep in mind that you are the only one of all 5 kids that got a girl pregnant before marriage.
That's right.
This is very disappointing news for the November family. The next call we make is to my dad, and I tell him, Dad, I'm pregnant. And he goes, with Phil or with Clyde? It's definitely Clyde. Like, I don't know what kind of woman you think I am, Dad. And then he goes, just keep in mind, you don't have to get married. And I said, okay.
So this is the opposite message my mom was sending. Like, you better get married.
The next call I make is to my mom, and she says, you're such an idiot. You're basically following in my footsteps. If you're going to get pregnant, make sure that the guy's rich and not unemployed sleeping on your couch.
Yeah, and that's when you whacked me on the arm and said, Clyde, you got to get a job. And suddenly my dream of being the unemployed college student was out the window.
You know, I do have to say that both my mom and my dad were really excited to be grandparents, though, because this was going to be their first grandkid. So the long and the short of this is, Claudia, I would like to do the non-amendment because I was pregnant, as you mentioned, before we got engaged.
Typical Claudia has no patience.
She wants to get to the point right away. All right, so let's transition into Clyde's Google searches. Hand over your phone, Clyde. Why did you Google search Neil deGrasse Tyson? Like, were we looking at the stars today?
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. every time he speaks, I get smarter. His most recent thing I heard in an interview, he was talking about how the sun is slowly expanding, and it kind of freaks me out. But he said in 1 billion years, our sun will expand to the size where it actually absorbs Earth and kind of swallows it, which terrifies me for my future generations. Not that humans are going to be alive in 1 billion years, but,
Right. By then, we will be a whole different kind of form.
Yeah. So the next day I went to work, and I guess I just had this facial expression, and, my friend could tell that something was up, and they came over and patted me on the shoulder, which bothered me. I don't like being touched. So that was kind of weird. And said, Clyde, I can tell something's going on. Are you okay? And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm not okay. Do you realize the sun is going to swallow the earth in 1 billion years?
Yeah, that's you, Clyde.
She looked at me like I was weird.
That's because you are weird. Because you're an idiot. All
Fair.
right. Why did you Google search, can you die from a black widow bite?
Well, Rex was out in the garden. Okay, you have given Rex the job of watering your flowers every day.
Yes, it's
and
an
he does a
important
great
job.
job. He got bit by a spider today.
Great.
Yeah. So when he comes back in, he's got this big old lump on his leg, and I'm like, what is that? He said, I got bit by a spider. And I
my gosh.
I said, is it a black widow? No. And I said, how do you know? He said, Dad, I know what a black widow looks like, which of course he does. He watches enough nature shows.
The kid knows every species of every animal or insect that ever lived.
He says, it was just a regular garden spider or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, well, if a black widow ever bites you, you need to let me know right away because I need to get you to the hospital because you're going to die. And he tells me, Dad, you don't die from a black widow spider bite. And I said, yes, you do. Everybody knows that. They have enough poison. It's like the equivalent of like 27 rattlesnakes.
Yeah, but I bet Rex is right.
Yeah, the kid was right. He's like, Google it. And so,
dude, he's smarter than Google.
Yeah. And for those of you that are curious, it's reported that on average, 2,000 people get bitten by black widows every single year. On average, 2 people die per year. So that's 0.1%. Once again, Rex knows nature better than his father.
It's true. Will you ever stop Googling? Probably not.
No, because I've got to verify everything.
Why did you Google famous quotes from Shawshank Redemption?
I Googled this for a very good reason.
A good reason?
A very good reason.
That's pushing it.
So while I was sitting around today, I pictured a world where this guy was walking around the world named Clyde that had every line from that movie memorized.
Yeah.
And could pull it out in any situation, because I don't know how many times people are talking to me and I'm like, oh, that reminds me of this thing from Shawshank Redemption, except I can't remember the line at the time.
You are such an idiot.
So never again is that going to happen, because my goal for this summer is to memorize all the important lines from
Clyde.
that movie. No,
you're crazy.
When Rosie took her nap today, I spent that time memorizing.
You know what? I could think about 6 other things that I would rather you have been doing, including but not limited to painting our bathroom that has been torn apart for 3 months waiting to be painted. But here you are sitting around memorizing Shawshank Redemption quotes.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Okay, you now make me realize it probably wasn't the best choice, but just wait.
Oh my gosh.
Because I feel like I actually did memorize the most important line, and I've actually been wanting to perform it for you.
Oh, great.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It better be worth it.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. And when they fly away, the part of you that knows it was a sin to lock them up does rejoice. Still, the place you live in is that much more drab and empty that they're gone. Or maybe I just missed my friend. Boom. What'd you think of that? You have to admit that you're a little impressed.
No. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. We really want to thank our listeners.
Visit our website at ilovemyidiot.com. Tell us about an idiot in your life. And if it's something good, we'll talk about it on the show.
Thank you for joining us, and you guys have a good day.
I love my idiot.
You are such an idiot.